Hello, my name's Martyn Rawson, and I work for the European Council of Steiner Waldorf Education. I'm a teacher and teacher educator and researcher. And one of the areas that I've been working within for many years is the whole question of teacher learning, teacher professional development, and increasingly teacher well-being and teacher resilience. Teaching, particularly young children, can be a demanding and sometimes stressful occupation. Um, Children often do what's not expected, what they shouldn't do. Situations arise that you have to be able to resolve them in a fruitful, peaceful way so that everyone can get back to learning and feeling comfortable and safe in the learning space. And there are a lot of pressures on teaching today. People have high expectations, school authorities have high expectations, and teachers have high expectations of themselves. It's a profession that attracts people who are not just simply looking for a job to earn some money, but they're moved to work with children. They want to make a difference. They want to do something meaningful. And usually they come out of teacher education with high ideals, with high expectations. And then reality grinds this kind of enthusiasm down somewhat, makes it a little bit more blunt, and people begin to have doubt, people begin to feel uncomfortable with the situation, they begin to worry, and fairly soon you get into a cycle of stress and tension, and that makes you actually prone to getting ill, having headaches, feeling exhausted, being depressed, and so on. So, there's a lot of sort of health aspects to stress, and therefore we have been looking both in initial teacher education, but also in teacher ongoing professional development at ways in which we can help people to strengthen themselves from the inside and to perhaps begin to identify resources within themselves that they didn't perhaps know they had, that they can be drawn out and made to sort of serve the overall educational aims that we have in the classroom. And there are many ways of doing this, undoubtedly. But one of the most effective ways that we've discovered over the last 25 years in Steiner Waldorf education is the contribution that clowning can make to teacher development. Now, we probably all have an idea of what a clown is, someone with a red nose, a funny hat, perhaps very long boots, amusing us in between circus acts or on stage performing, pantomiming, and so on. And it's true that clowns do that. But there is a long tradition of clowning within the theatre world, which involves, originally it was actors, in a sense, training in a particular way to enhance their ability to improvise. Now, improvisation is something that teachers need a lot. We don't entirely rely on inspiration, we do planning. We have clear aims and goals, but nevertheless, things happen in ways which we weren't planning, we weren't expecting. And therefore, we have to be, in a sense, ready to meet the unexpected, but in a positive way. So the unexpected doesn't throw us, doesn't make us fall back on other dispositions that we have to protect ourselves, to be defensive, perhaps even sometimes verbally or inwardly aggressive and angry when things happen. People say and do things that hurt us or offend us. So we need to be ready to find creative, fruitful situations. And we also obviously want teachers to be creative. We want them to be able to take the resources that they have, read the situation that they're in, and then adapt what their plan was to what the situation actually requires and demands. Now, we started this activity. We invited people who were trained, qualified theatre clowning facilitators to come and work with us as teachers. They weren't teachers in schools, but they were expert in working with people to bring out these qualities of improvisation. And we felt this was particularly important in the field of second language learning because if you take, as Steiner Waldorf does, an immersion approach, in other words, we immerse ourselves, young children, teachers, in classroom situations within the context language. We don't start teaching people from books or learning vocabulary or learning grammar. We try to imitate, in a way, natural language acquisition by helping children to participate in social practices in which the language is the medium. So teachers do things that young children, we're talking about 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds, that young children like to do, are happy to do, are willing to do in a classroom situation with other children together. And it's fun, and it has to be fun. And we don't explain everything to them in the mother tongue and translate it. We simply try to make it obvious through gesture, through movement, through pointing, and above all, by inwardly having a very clear picture of what it is that we're trying to convey to the children so they begin to intuit what we're getting at. They're willing to enter into an activity because they kind of understand what we want of them. So improvisation clowning seemed an excellent preparation for language teachers, and so indeed it proved. And so we introduced it into an institution that we founded some 25 years ago, the famous, in our circles, English Week, where people who teach English as a second language come together for an intensive week of artistic activity, clowning, drama work, improvisation, storytelling, and things like that. And then a little bit around the edges, we do a little bit of didactics and methodology, but essentially this immersion in these activities, which are in a sense to bring the artist within us to the surface. And we were very fortunate to meet people who were extremely skilled in this field. People like Vivian Gladwell and Robert McNear, who's been there since the beginning of English Week, and following on from them, people like Catherine Bryden, who have really developed this into a fine art. In the meantime, we've discovered that theatre clowning, as it's referred to, is of benefit not only to teachers of foreign languages, but basically to any teachers. So nearly all of the teacher education programs in Germany, where the Waldorf schools movement is very strong, have courses on theatre clowning. Now, I would argue not enough, but the ones that they do have seem to be beneficial, particularly when people repeat them over the years. So having one intensive experience is very helpful. Maybe a year later, having a sort of a booster, re-emerging or immersing oneself into the play world of clown is very rewarding. And in the last 10 years, we've added to this process, the activity itself, we've built in carefully a process of scaffolded reflection so that the theatre clowning exercises often involve the group supportively watching one or two of their colleagues improvising, engaging with situations, and then, in a sense, reflecting on that afterwards in a very positive, constructive way. That's a form of immediate, supportive, empathic reflection. And towards the end of the process, we ask people to write a learning journal to document how they felt at the beginning, the crises that they encountered on the way, and looking back afterwards, what it felt it gave them. And we decided that it would be quite important to document this. So I think over the course of 6 weeks, in numerous courses, I can't actually remember anymore, I think 10 or more different courses, we collected data by asking people to give us interviews and to make their reflective writing available to us, and we analyzed it and published it in a journal. And at the end of this talk, I give you the link towards that. And I think this really helped to establish the fact that, if you like, there is good scientific evidence that this really supports teachers self-consciousness, their awareness of their body in space. It enhances their ability to encounter the unknown. And perhaps more significantly, and it's difficult to formulate this in words, is to have trust that you can learn rapidly in the situation, that you can learn to read the situation effectively and accurately, and then be able to respond. So what we call pedagogical tact is the ability to read the situation in the moment and then to be able to act in meaningful ways. Of course, afterwards, we have to reflect and see what that actually involves. So what does a theatre clowning workshop look like? Well, you need a big space. You need to be able to loosen up. There are a lot of gentle warm-up, stretching exercises, exercises in pairs and in groups, feeling the space around oneself, cooperative playfulness, I think we call about it, curiosity, improvisation. An object is placed on the floor in front of us, and we have to respond to this in an intelligent, sometimes humorous, but not always way. And this sense, what is very important is this creating this sense of mutual support. So relying on the others in the group, leaning on them, knowing that they're there with your best interests at heart, caring for them, carrying them through this moment of letting go and entering into that unknown space and responding. The overall mood is often relaxed. It's fun, but it can push you up against inner limitations. I mean, physical limitations are not really the problem because you're not required to be particularly athletic, and theatre clowning takes you from where you are. So if you're not particularly mobile or in some way you're inhibited in movement, that's fine. You can do it sitting down. In fact, during COVID, we did clowning sitting down in front of our computers. But the process is really about letting go and entering into another space. So the exercises are designed, if you like, the clown's perspective on life generally is fundamentally a positive one, which is one of the reasons why hospital clowning is very effective. And some of our facilitators, apart from working with teachers, also work in hospital clowning and also work in working with trauma-informed educational settings or emergency education and places like that. It's a kind of very wide field, and it can be adapted to all kinds of situations. But I'm not suggesting that teaching is a traumatic experience, although it can be. But there's an awful lot to be learned about how trauma, and after all, in a sense, we're all a bit traumatized. We all bring with us a kind of inner inhibitions and anxieties that hold us back, that hinder us a little bit. So play is very much a part of it. Play as a creative expression where we make some more out of the situation than apparently is there. And there is not a direct transfer of these kind of activities. You can't really go into the classroom and do this, although there are some of the warm-up exercises which can be useful, but that's not the point. It's a point about bringing yourself to an inner position where you feel more comfortable with yourself, inwardly relaxed, alert, attentive to things that you perhaps were not aware of before. It's the little things that matter. You become much more perceptive of the people around you. And these are qualities which stand you in good stead. When you have absorbed them, when you've embodied them, then they become a kind of disposition. Now, just to conclude, I will just stop the video briefly and share my screen with a video account of two of our clown facilitators talking about clowning.
When you come on stage, it's not your performance space, it's a play space. So it's your play space, and we can just be, as an audience, we can just be witness to whatever the clown is experiencing on stage, really.
It's like stepping into an in-between space where you're doing things for people, in front of people, but it's your pure enjoyment or frustration that feeds the show.
It's not technique, right?
No, it's not nothing
It's
to
not
do with
technique. It's not juggling, learning how to juggle.
No,
It's not beep party clown.
no acrobatics.
No. Although we do move a lot.
Based on what each person can do, not what they can't. So physical ability it's what you can do.
Yeah, but you can do anything, basically, because if you physically can't do it, then you can just imagine.
Yeah.
You can imagine doing it. So you can fly.
Even if you're sitting in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
You can become the ants taking over your house.
Yeah. You can be a teacup or a tea bag in the tea. So yeah, we want to tell you what it's not, right?
It's not.
It's not. So it's not that. It's not the wig and
it's not what you think.
And the big shoes and the and beep beep kind of thing.
Exactly. It's not the beep beep.
Clown conflict.
All right, Ms. Hopkins.
Ms. Bryden.
Clown and conflict.
Clown and conflict.
Define conflict. Conflict with yourself is the starting point. Conflict with others. Conflict with situations. So extremely important is we don't solve problems. We don't eliminate conflict. In fact,
We love problems.
We embrace conflict and celebrate it.
What's really going on?
What's really going on? What are you really feeling?
Yeah.
So that was just a little snippet of Catherine and Angela, both of whom used to be Waldorf teachers, and this activity of facilitating theatre clowning workshops has taken them over, and they travel the world doing this in lots of different countries because the demand is huge, because it seems so simple. If we could just relax and smile and have fun, it would be so much easier. But of course, there's depth to it, and there's a reflective process that goes along with it that we're fairly sure helps to kind of make us more human, more relaxed, more grounded, more willing to accept who we are and what's coming towards us, and perhaps also more willing to tackle those difficult areas in our profession and in our lives. So that's just a little introduction to theatre clowning within teacher professional development.